can you believe that it has been 2 years since Apex Legends release? Because at least for me, that seems almost insane. But since we made it this far, I think it would be fun to take a look back at what has changed and if it's still worth playing or even revisiting. So this is Apex Legends 2 years later. A lot has changed since the initial release of this game. In the beginning, we only had Kings Canyon and a handful of legends, but throughout the years with constant updates while listening to the fans, Apex has amassed a total of 3 maps and 16 legends, far more than the 8 the game released with. The maps now include a new rendition of Kings Canyon, with a whole lot more area playable now that Fuse's incident happened. We also have World's Edge, which was added back in Season 3 and has been changed and tweaked here and there along the way. And we have the newest map added, Olympus, which came out with Season 7's release. Now, honestly, I love all the maps. Some more than others, but in all seriousness, they are all super enjoyable and have a really distinct feeling from one another while still keeping that Apex style. Now, even if you aren't the biggest fan of a map, you're in luck because they are almost in constant rotation, so you're never really stuck playing the same map over and over. I give props to developers. I mean, it's such a simple ad, but yet so many games and studios miss out on this. So if you haven't played in a while or are on the fence about rejoining the Apex games, I would give it a shot just to see the new maps. But the maps aren't the only thing keeping you coming back. As I mentioned before, the game's legends have severely increased as well. It's always fun to hop back in for a new season to check out the new legend and their abilities. And maybe if you like what you see or simply can't stand dying to another Horizon and her do-it-all kit, then you may even be able to save up enough legend tokens. Honestly, I didn't even know they had a name before looking it up for this video, and I'm kinda disappointed. I thought they would have a cooler name. But after saving up enough legend tokens, you can now play as the new character you unlocked. I just really recommend looking up videos and tier lists for characters because there is nothing worse than unlocking a character that you don't really mess with. Kind of learned my lesson with Revenant and Watson, but I guess that is kind of common knowledge, but you never really know unless you try them. But once you find that character that you really enjoy, the game can be so great sometimes, especially if you coordinate certain movements and abilities with your teammates. And that's another thing that I just love about this game and always kept me coming back these past years, which just goes to show how fun this game can be. Because let's be real, your friend group is not a real friend group unless you go through an Apex phase together every couple of months. I said what I said. Because this is one of the most fun and engaging games out right now, in my opinion, and for good reason. It takes time and genuine skill to get good with a legend and their abilities. It rewards good movement and good accuracy. It requires good situational awareness, as in when to push and when to fight, and when to lay off from a battle. It has some of the most satisfying knockdowns and kills, and it forces you to be aggressive and take up a fast-paced playstyle because it can be decently hard to win if you don't. This isn't one of those games where you can continuously camp and win games often, because it almost punishes you if you do so, especially with the new Evo shields that upgrade the more damage you do. Along with the new Evos, there is just a ton of new stuff added, and things have changed a lot throughout the game. Like the flyers on Kings Canyon. I mean, I'm not totally sure that's what they're called, but as far as research goes, that's the name they seem to go by. The blue goo, or whatever it's called, that first appeared on World's Edge, but now comes in containers on all maps and can be used to craft specific items in-game. And well, Olympus as a whole. Specifically the Trident though, and each map has its own little thing, so it's cool to learn how to use each of them, and it's a fun mix-up. Now, the maps and legends aren't the only thing that got added to the game. The guns themselves have seen a lot of new variants and weapon types, especially each season. Plus, they all feel super unique and just really good to use. I know that sounds weird, but they just do. Plus, the developers do a great job at balancing the guns, where I don't really think any gun is super OP, and I don't really think there's any gun that is just not viable. It's weird to say this, but even the Mozambique can be used as a secondary weapon because of its buff, which I give the devs super big props for. Like, how difficult is it to make all these guns that balanced? Plus, the legends are all really balanced as well. All legends are able to be used and are viable, with maybe the exception of Rampart, but even then, I have seen some super great plays with her, and the Spitfire buff has definitely helped them as well, especially with Rampart's abilities. So if you're revisiting or just getting into the game for the first time, I try out all the legends and see which ones you like, because they are all very useful in their own way, and no legend has this insane advantage over others where the whole lobby tries to play them. Not saying there aren't strong legends, but each legend is definitely able to be used for sure. Now, I've been playing since basically day one, and I made a review about Apex about 2 years ago now. I mean, the quality of the video isn't what it is today, but it did make for a good laugh, and it's interesting to see how far I've come. But I had a lot of points that I still agree with or just straight up came true. First off, I talked about how fun the game is, and well, if you haven't caught on yet, it really is. It's really fun. I also talked about the banner and respawn beacon system and how that should be implemented in more battle royale games, and well, it has almost every single one since. And while I did only have one complaint, it is still true today, and now more than ever, especially on Kings Canyon, which is the third partying. I got a lot of hate for this take back when I made it, but I still stand by the claim. This is probably the biggest issue with the game as of right now. Certain games you won't see a soul until some of the last circles, but then when you finally engage with the team, all of a sudden the entire lobby is on you. Now, this isn't really an issue with World's Edge in my experience, but it certainly is with Kings Canyon and a little bit of Olympus. I'm not really sure how they could fix the problem, but yet again, in my original video, I talked about the sound of guns traveling way too far. There are ways to combat this. Either lower the sound that guns make, which could end up being a little controversial in the community, or my second and probably the more preferred option, which would be an attachment, probably gold and most likely found in care packages, that would act as a silencer of sorts on certain compatible guns. I feel like this second option could actually be implemented and act as a way to silently deal with threats without the constant fear of being third-partied, or fourth-partied, or however many parties will come. But let me know what you think about this idea. Am I reaching about the issue of third partying, and would an attachment even be helpful like this? Let me know down below. It would be interesting to see your comments, and trust me, I read them. Now, it's time for the question I'm sure you're all asking. Or not, I don't know. But is the game worth playing now, 2 years later? The short answer, yes, absolutely. First of all, it's free, so there is really no reason to not try it if you haven't already. Then there's just the aspect of how fun it is. Plus, I feel like the game has really improved, especially because the devs respond to the feedback the community gives. It's come a long way since that initial release, and I believe it's been for the better. Plus, I've seen such a resurgence in the game's community. Maybe it's just me, but I've seen this game talked about recently almost as much as when it was first released. I've seen a lot of people gravitate back towards this game, and for good reason. It's genuinely a good game, and after these 2 years, I'm confident to say that the game will continue to grow and has a bright future ahead. So I recommend that you hop back into the Apex games. I'm sure you won't regret it.